Extremely dangerous Category 4 Hurricane Dorian is headed for the northwest Bahamas and the southeastern U.S. I'm Mike Naso with an early morning tropical update on our very dangerous Hurricane Dorian. Here's the latest as of 5 a.m. Now, some of the numbers on this map are a little different. They use knots instead of miles per hour. But as of 5 a.m. Eastern Time, Hurricane Dorian was at 25.8 north, 72.6 west, winds still 140 miles per hour. That's a solid Category 4, very dangerous. It's moving west-northwest at 12 miles per hour, and the minimum pressure is 948 millibars. This is a very powerful storm. Now, the track has changed in the last 24 hours. Yesterday, we were talking about a landfall somewhere along the Florida coast. Now, the official track has it staying just offshore Florida, scraping up the coast, and potentially headed for a landfall somewhere in Georgia or South Carolina. However, you can't really focus on those pinpointed locations because it could be as far south as, say, Fort Lauderdale, or it could even bend offshore of North Carolina. It is too early to say, but a lot has changed with the computer models in the last 24 hours. So I'm going to touch base on why that happened. Here's Dorian looking better than it ever has, a very, very classic looking Category 4 hurricane, just that saw blade headed west-northwest, expected to turn west and slow down as the ridge of high pressure pushes it in that direction to the north of it, and that is going to cause just a very serious situation for the Bahamas. We have Eleuthera Island, we have Abaco Island, we have Grand Bahama Island, Andros Island, and of course Cat Island down here. They're all under the gun from this very powerful storm. And Abaco Island, you're really under the gun. Areas there like Hopetown right there and Elbow Key, that's right on the coastline there facing Africa. There's nothing else but Atlantic Ocean, and headed your way is Hurricane Dorian. You can see the deep convection surrounding a well-defined eye, a classic signature of a very major hurricane, the first of the 2019 hurricane season. Alright, here's the European models as of 0Z, and you can see a lot of them keep it offshore. And this is in response to a weakening of the high pressure. Remember, we were talking about the high pressure steering Dorian right into Florida. It appears that that system that was over Kansas and Missouri and created those thunderstorms yesterday popped up. And that troughiness could be just enough to weaken the ridge and allow Hurricane Dorian to slow down and then head towards the northwest, paralleling the coast, maybe coming inland or scraping, maybe headed offshore. But that really wasn't picked up by our global forecasting models at all. They did not see that puff up over Missouri and Kansas, and that obviously plays a role in how the high pressure interacts with Dorian. It's kind of confusing, so I'm going to try and show you here. You can see this is the water vapor imagery. Now here's Hurricane Dorian, very dangerous. Here's the Bermuda High, the high pressure to the north of it. And this feature here over Ohio, this was that thunderstorm blow up over areas of Kansas and Missouri. Now, when that occurred, the models suddenly said, wait a second, this high pressure might not send Dorian right into Florida. This troughiness here might actually weaken the high pressure and cause Dorian to slow down and turn. And so that's why all of the models shifted. Everything's out the window. We don't know where this hurricane is going to go. We don't know if it's going to make landfall in Florida, Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina. We don't know if it's going to miss the coast. What we do know is that the northern Bahamas here, which are under those hurricane warnings and a hurricane watch for Andros, they're under the gun. This is a very dangerous storm. However, there are so many factors that are going to go into where this thing goes. And the fact that it's expected to slow down is not going to make it easy at all to try and pinpoint what locations may see a landfall or may not. But that's kind of the gist of it. We had assumed, based on the models, that the high pressure was going to be so strong that nothing was going to stop Dorian from sailing right into Florida. But once we got this feature here, weakening the high pressure, we might see Dorian turn. Maybe towards the Carolinas, maybe offshore, maybe scraping up the coast. But there's a lot of questions still. but this is such a powerful hurricane, so dangerous, you want to stay tuned to local emergency officials and listen to them. Have your hurricane plans in place. Obviously, this monster is on the way. The GFS model, as of 0Z, you can see it took it right on up into South Carolina, and obviously a lot of heavy rainfall for the East Coast. You can see it pummels Grand Bahama Island there before turning to the north. We also have our H-Worth model, which you can see makes Dorian a very powerful hurricane, just scraping Grand Bahama Island and then making a landfall in South Carolina as a Category 2 hurricane right in the middle of South Carolina. And that turn occurs in, say, about 96 hours. That's 4 days. That is a long time for this hurricane to move from where it's at and then into the northern Bahamas. So if it does slow down, we're going to be dealing with Dorian for a while, and it's going to be painstaking to say the least. The HMON model, you can see it takes Dorian squarely over Abaco Island, and then it weakens it and turns it towards Cape Fear, North Carolina. But you can see here 36 hours, 50 hours, 60 hours, 90 hours, just pounding the northwest Bahamas as a very dangerous hurricane. Some of those winds on this model, Category 4 intensity, to say nothing of the high seas that are going to be occurring, especially where you have onshore flow coming around the hurricane. So that's another one of our computer models. So the bottom line right now is that Dorian, even this close to Florida and the southeast and the Bahamas, is a question mark. And with the way track forecasting has improved, usually we have better agreement. So this is a very, very difficult hurricane to pin down. If you are in Florida, tropical storm force winds could be impinging on you by tomorrow morning. Sunday morning here, 8 a.m., Sunday night, you can be in areas of tropical storm force winds, and it gets very difficult to do things, including preparing your homes, boarding up, doing all that, when these winds get above 39 miles an hour. So again, you want to be on the lookout. Obviously, the Bahamas here, by later tonight, you're going to start to see in areas of Abaco Island and the northwest Bahamas, those tropical storm winds impinge. And then further up the coast, we could be talking by early week, areas of the Carolinas. You guys are not out of the woods. If you live in Charleston, you keep an eye on this thing. Because if this turns like that as a Category 4 hurricane, you're going to have a serious situation. So Florida, you are not in the clear by any means. We could still see a landfall. This is very dangerous. However, the factors and variables have been changing a little bit over the last 24 hours. Look at that beautiful water vapor image of just that buzzsaw. Category 4 Hurricane Dorian headed right now to the west-northwest, expected to turn a little more west and slow down as it heads towards the northwest Bahamas and very likely the United States. I'll be back with frequent updates over the next couple of days, it looks like, as dangerous Dorian approaches. I'm Mike Naso from IPR, and I'll talk to you guys next time.